Hello again, welcome back, you absolute legends. We're back over at the brewery. Excuse the slight kind of level of calamity we've got going on. The summer's over, if you weren't aware, so it's just started raining. No transition, nothing, just rain and a lot of it. But then again, we haven't had any rain for months and months, so let's all be sensible, not complain about this. However, yeah, I do apologise for the sea of tables. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by, well, it's not really brought to you by, in association with the Malt Miller. Do you know why? We've been buying stuff. And we've been buying stuff to try and help us gain an advantage or get ahead of the game on our homebrew tap that we have here at the brewery. So we have our homebrew tap where we've been using my homebrew equipment and we've been playing around with flavours and beers and styles and all this sort of stuff. And I want it to be made a little bit easier. So I want us to kind of have a slightly easier life. I want us to be producing lots and lots of different beers through the homebrew tap. So I thought, do you know what? I think things need a little bit of a refresh. So the first thing on the list is there it is, Fermzilla Gen 3.2, courtesy of our friends at the Malt Miller. We have been using, and it's my old faithful, the original Fermentosaurus, which I think there was that weird kind of split between, was it Keg King and Kegland and stuff, I seem to recall, and then you had all those weird offshoots. That's the one I've had, and I've had that for like, when it first came out, like 10 years or something silly like that. It's been an absolute legend, but I thought now was a good time to upgrade. So we've got one of these with the full pressure kit. Even though I've got the blow tie and all the other bits and pieces, I thought, do you know what? It's time to refresh all of that as well. So we've got the blow tie kit with the pressure gauge, and then we've also got the pressure fermentation and transfer kit as well. So with the two connections, the filter, which I've never had actually on the float and dip tube, which would be an interesting one, new float and new dip tube, all to go in this. So we're going to get that out in a minute and just kind of take you through it. Quite excited for this. I've not had a new fermenter. Well, I have had new fermenters, these big things, but I've not had a new homebrew fermenter in like forever. But we didn't stop there, because the other thing is we're using corny kegs to fill the beer in to run through the homebrew tap. So do you know what I thought we needed? Yeah, you guessed it. We needed a bucket blaster. So again, the whole idea, I've been looking at these ever since I've seen them come out. I thought, what a genius idea. Why didn't I think of that? We've got quite a large amount of corny kegs, mainly through the fact of me being a home brewer, and those of us that are home brewers know that corny kegs just seem to miraculously multiply in your fridge and in your brew shed. So actually, again, for us to be able to produce as many beers as we possibly can, get them through the homebrew tap, because, you know, a good one, or, you know, something that kind of hits the mark, the one corny keg, it might only last 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and it's gone. So actually, I really want Kirsty and Charlie to really kind of push it, really learn kind of rapid like I did, and the best way to do that is to be able to get lots of beers in kegs. We all know it's an absolute pain in the ass to be stripping corny kegs down, taking the dip tubes out. You know, I've been doing it for years. But actually these things, or this thing here, should make that life a whole lot easier. Now, I know there's 101 reviews and video reviews online about this. I've seen quite a few. Brewer Bit Rick, I watched one of yours today, actually, funnily enough, to just get a bit of inspiration. I've seen Jim from the Malt Miller and Reiki's, so Stiffo's Reiki's review of it and stuff. But do you know what? We're just going to kind of go through it as well. I've got my old Fermentosaurus actually that needs cleaning. I found it in the fermentation fridge that I forgot the guys hadn't cleaned it, so we might get that out and give that a bit of a go. But first things first, should we do a bit of an unboxing? Let's get this open and let's see what's going on inside. Put this to one side. And yeah, let's get all this out, shall we? Right then, so should we open this little puppy up and see what's inside? So I've already had a sneaky peek, but I thought you guys might quite enjoy this as well. So this is the Fermzilla Gen 3.2. If I'm honest, I don't know exactly all the details between all the other previous generations, but I'm sure we'll work that out along the way. All very similar. Oh, it comes actually all completely attached to the cage on cable ties, so it looks like I'll be going to grab some cutters then by the looks of it, because we need to get all this stuff out. So let me just go and grab something. All right, so here we are. So this is really interesting. This will be an interesting comparison to my Fermzilla. What's this warning about? Read instructions. No, I'm a man, I don't do that. What are you talking about? So it's interesting how the design's moved on from the Fermzilla. Obviously this is much bigger and wider now. Much bigger and wider. But I'll do a comparison next to my old one. And then you don't have the really scary seal you used to have on the other one that you'd be afraid it would just fall inside. They've actually incorporated the seal into the lid with an O-ring, which is quite a good shout. Don't know what you do if you lose that O-ring, mind you. That's an interesting question. So then we've got the actual fermenter body itself. Let's put that to one side because we need to turn this upside down. But in the meantime, we need to cut these let's cut these bits off. That's one. And we'll get a camera down, we'll have a look, see at what these are. I suspect this is the bottom bowl, which did look quite big, but actually in real life it's not as big as I feared. I think the earlier version I'd seen, oh, that's just a whole load of bits in there, isn't it? Crikey, look at that. And you can see that, we'll open it out on the so you can see there's a whole load of bits in there. I think I did see that the maybe a version before this, the collection bowl was massive. Okay, there's your standard kind of bubbler. Never use those, but anyway, whereas this actually is a bit more of a reasonable size. I'd probably say, oh, here you go, here's my coffee cuplet. That's kind of round about the same size, so that's like a good cup of coffee. So, I don't know, I want to say like 400 ml, maybe we'll measure it out, but not too wasteful. I was worried you'd lose a load of beer if you're doing stuff, but sealed up, which is all good. And then we got the this, which is actually, it's a load better and thicker. The one of my fermentosaurs, one of the standing jokes with it was you could wobble it like that with the fermenter on it, and the whole bloody thing would just wobble around. You'd be worried that it'd fall over, whereas this is a lot more sturdy. But weirdly, I get the body of the fermenter in there, but weirdly, this holds less volume. So this is 27 litres, whereas I'm pretty sure my fermentosaurus was something like 30, maybe 32. But we'll have a look. I mean, in theory, we're not doing anything more than kind of 25 litre batches, so should just be enough headspace at the top. So yeah, okay, let's put this to one side and let's have a closer look through some of these bits and pieces we've got here, I think. So let's lift that down on the side. Well, feels like quite small and dinky, that thing. So what have we got here? So this is obviously the main dump valve. And yes, they weren't lying. You could literally dump your... Oh, it's quite... Actually, that's interesting. It's quite a bit of like manufacturing grease on it, kind of residues. You can kind of feel that. So actually, this is going to need a good CIP, which could be a good reason to use our other new toy. So yeah, I mean, this is good, decent size. I mean, there's no way in the world any hops are blocking that, right? I mean, you could literally get 2-3 fingers. That's getting rude now. Intrusive thoughts, but yeah, that's insane, right? So that's quite big. You could almost argue that's maybe a bit too big, but as long as you're not losing too much out the bottom, I don't necessarily think it'll be a massive problem. So yes, obviously this is collector at the bottom, seal tri-clamp, quite neat, not a bad little thing. Standard airlock. Not really quite sure why you would ever use one of those these days now, but what do I know? So yeah, so this is our big bag. I've got a funny feeling there's going to be bits in here that I'm going to have to keep safe, which is always a worry. So what we got going on here then? So we've got 2 tri-clamps, we've got a blank. I suspect this is a spare seal for the lid, which is great, but it means I've got to keep it safe somewhere, which is just a real pain in the bum. Blanking plate, which is obviously going to live with that. I don't know why you'd want a blanking plate. You've got the valve. I suppose you could literally just blank straight over the bottom. I suppose that would be a reason, but we're not going to really need that, I don't think. We'll use it with the valve on all the time, and then either it'll be open or closed depending on what we're doing, but I have to try and keep that safe somewhere. Be interesting to know if anyone knows. Stick in the comments whether you can buy these red O-rings easily. I've got a supply for one of my big fermenters where a little red O-ring like this, probably 14 mil diameter, they want like a £5 for it. Well, I know full well it's about 7p, but it's a special size that only they have. Okay, here's the measurements, which we can stick on the side. Seal, so 1 seal for there. Got our 2 tri-clamps, which, you know, until you really get a hang of them, you need to have like 4 pairs of hands or be a wizard to be able to use these things, especially these double jointed ones, which are equally taxing. And I'm beaten by getting into a bag now. And right, double one, they're both the same, I think. So this, yeah, mix and match, which is good. So these, is this the lifter that goes around? This must be the thing that goes around the neck. We'll get it up on the side and then we'll have a quick look, actually. I think that's what's going on here. So I'll apologise because you are on the wobbliest table I've got, but I can't be bothered to move stuff around. So I think this is, yeah, it is the handle. The handle for the fermenter, but do you really need it? Because it's in there, in the stand. When it's full, you're going to be using the stand to move it. And why would you pick it up? Not in the stand when it's heavy, because like this, it's like, why would you do that? I mean, it's nice, but why would you want that on there? Because if it's full of beer, you're going to move it in the stand, because that's a really good way of moving the whole thing around, because you have the collection bowl on there. Why would you? I don't think I'm inclined to put that on, you know. I think that's going to it's going to go in the spares bucket bin thing, you know, that's thing. So I'm trying to work out what I've done with the lid now. The lid's around here somewhere. That's that. I've literally lost the lid. What have I done with that? That's right in front of me, look, there it is. Ta-da! So, lid. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on for this actually. I want to see how this sits. See, glasses. Oh, okay, so this is interesting. So actually it pushes, does it? Am I going mental? That's interesting. Oh, it's going to need a bit of a... Sorry about the wobbling, kids. That's interesting. Looks, and okay, we've got that one there. Oh, okay, that's quite handy. So you got these two, rather than on my Fermentosaurus, it was literally 2 holes and that was it. Whereas by the looks of it, you've got the choice where you can kind of unscrew these off, and then you can put the disconnects on, and then interesting, you get one obviously for the bubble lock. So we can put those to one side because we're always going to have the disconnects on there. But I'm intrigued by this because it doesn't kind of feel like it will. Oh, there we go. Okay, it just needs a little bit of caressing, don't we all? have seen it where people have been using like tools, like you know, like the good old-fashioned oil filter straps to do that. But I'm guessing because that presses in, it should seal itself quite well. Be interested to see what it's like under pressure if you do need to get that quite tight. Just giving this a quick eyeball just to make sure it's flawless. Does look good actually. That's quite clever how they've well, you can see that how they've managed to vacuum mold. If you're in into a bit of manufacturing engineering, you'll appreciate actually that's quite tricky, and the strength they've got in here, it's quite good. I seem to recall, like with the original Fermentosaurus that I've still got, there was something along the story was something along the lines of that it wasn't discovered by accident, but they were doing something of blowing PET out for something, and then someone went, hang on a minute, could we do this with it? And then they kind of, you know, obviously did various trials and bits and pieces and then found, actually, yes, you can. So that's interesting then. So I have got a spare, it's probably 2 inch, isn't it? Yeah, it's got to be, because that's 1.5 inches, yeah. So actually I've got quite, I don't think I might have 2 inch. So that's good. So we've got another spare of that as well. So that's quite good. I'm quite liking the fact that there's a few spares of the seals in here, because not everyone's got loads of these seals knocking around. Obviously I've got loads of inch tri-clamps, 1.5 inches. I've got some of these actual clamps, not the double jointed ones. Although this O-ring's a special size, I bet. But that's quite good because, you know, we all lose stuff, right? Especially me, I lost the whole lid to this thing a second ago. So why, actually, that's a really good question. Why have I got 2 of these then? Maybe the reason I've got 2, actually, of these is because with the lid, should you want to, then you're going to take it off. Oh no, I've got to put the dump valve on. What a plank. I was just thinking maybe the reason you've got 2 is because if you take this off, you can use the lid, and actually you can use it to seal the collection jar, so you can sort of grab the yeast, close the valve, stick a lid on it, stick it in the fridge, use it the next day. But of course, silly old me, this is the sort of thing I would do, right? I'd end up putting bloody beer in it, or wort, as we should say. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and then that's what the other seal's for, you plank cod. Good job, I do have these spares. See, I bet you're loving this, just laughing at me going, it's behind you, use that one. So in theory, that to seat nicely, there we go. So in theory, and actually, the one thing I will say is having these, this on tri-clamp, sorry for the wobbling, is really good because on the Fermentosaurus one I've got, and in the earlier designs, it was just like it came in 2 parts. You've probably seen the video on Kegland, it came in 2 parts, one on the inside, one on here, and you tightened it up. The added confusion or complexity, that comes with this is, on the collection vessel, that had a thread on as well. So actually what you had was a left-handed and a right-handed thread next to each other, which is an absolute nightmare, particularly if you get yourself in a pickle and one's trying to undo, but it tightens the other one up and they lock. And I've had it a couple of occasions where I've had like tea towels round one and then someone holding the other end and then trying to get it undone. It's one of those kind of things that you only ever really take the thing off once in a blue moon because it is such a faff. And this is obviously a massive design improvement on that, because obviously with a bit more cost, and I guess Kegland have found a way on mass production to keep the price point sensible, and obviously our friends at the Malt Miller have brought these into the UK and, you know, kept the price point sensible, so it's as accessible for people as possible. which is great, because that's what you want, right? And what I'm really interested in is running the CIP on this, and we might just run it on this one actually. Is this? It's got some manufacturing. Where's the shadow coming from? See that? That's weird, isn't it? Run the CIP on this one because we've got a load of manufacturing kind of oils and stuff going on. So let's put those two caps away. Pop that, that can go with that as well. That can all go in the bag, look, there we go. Jobs are good in. And then we're kind of about there. Let's flip this bad boy round and let's have a quick look. So this is what we've got here. So yeah, got the top on here, look. Got the two posts to go on. It's looking pretty good actually. It's looking quite smart. I'm quite impressed with it so far. You can definitely see the improvement in design and processes. Obviously big dump valve, need to have a look-see, make sure we get this in the right place when you fill it so you can swing that thing round. Obviously it's only ever going to point down. And you can see here how that's going to work. And the collection chamber, I mean, like I said before, I was worried this collection chamber was going to be mahoosive, but actually I think that should be fine. I'll do a comparison on the yeast collector, actually, on the Fermentosaurus. Weirdly, it might actually be the same. On the instances you'll need to use it, I guess. So yeah, there we go. Right, let's get these top bits in. So before we put these top bits in, so we've got our floating dip tube plus filter, which actually is quite good. I used to, in my Fermentosaurus, was I would actually open the Fermentosaurus up at the end of fermentation after dry hop, then add the floating dip tube and the float, because I didn't want. You used to get a lot of blockages where stuff would go up the pipe and then into the disconnects. Hopefully, in theory, that might help. So it could be a little bit more kind of fire and forget. That's quite a smart little thing, that. So push the hose onto that. The other thing I'm thinking is when we're CIPing this, is obviously we'll have the lid off on the bucket blaster, which we'll do in a minute, and then we'll get it on. And what I'm thinking is we could probably connect the two outputs from the bucket blaster onto the two posts here. And the good thing that will happen is it'll actually CIP the hose, or clean the hose, of the fermenter, which before, again on the Fermentosaurus, was always a bit of a pain because it's tiny little hose, and I'd end up buying some little brushes and we'd brush it and run it under the tap, but never really quite as good. That feels a little bit cheap, if I'm honest. I think the ball float on the Fermentosaurus might actually be better than that, but we'll see. And obviously that gets hooked onto here at the right point. I'm trying to remember which we found the best way to do it was. Obviously if you do it here, it's going to kind of keep it here, whereas here it's going to float more and be more kind of like that. We'll have to have a look and see how that best works. We've then got our silicone hose for our floating dip tube, which I would expect to be much longer than needed. Yes, there we go. I mean, it's mahoosive. I don't feel inclined to cut it down, to be honest, because it will just float and sit on top. So we can put that together, and then our two posts, which, if I can get into the bag, there we go. Now I always get these around the wrong way. The yellow is, how does it say? It says liquid gas. What? How does it say liquid gas? What does the red one say? I always get these around the wrong way. These are not the carbonation cap, liquid gas carbonation cap. Well, are they dual purpose then? Is that what we're saying? I've never really found that they are actually truly dual purpose. Well, they are the same, look. The only thing I'd say is, do they truly go on that easily? Because I've had it where they're supposed to be dual purpose and they, you know, one doesn't go on the other any easier. So in theory, we can screw that on there. Has it got a seal inside? How's that sealing then, I wonder? It's going to be an interesting one. There's no, I can't feel a rubber seal on there at all, so sorry, you're wobbling. We'll see how that seals. But what I'm thinking is, yeah, we can take this off, put all the hoses on when it's being CIP'd, and it should blow it through that way. I cut my finger earlier as well. Health and safety, get the accident book out. Look, see, damn it. It was literally on a, that's my own stupid fault, on a staple on the box. Getting all overexcited and giddy. And then we got the blow tie here. So this should be the gauge, I believe, we've got here. Yes, it is. It's quite a big gauge, isn't it? Look at the size of that. And then that, see, red. See, it's got, you got red in with the spunding valve. So that kind of tells me red is gas, right? So then we've got 2 bits of hose, and then we've got this. So spunding valve, blow tie, pressure, T-piece, and a couple of bits of hose. So let's pop this together. So, blow tie, T-piece. So what I'm suspecting is we go out from here. So this is going to go on. This will go onto the top of the fermenter. We'll go. Do we go? No, it's got to go that way because you're going to want to see what's in there. Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. And then we'll do these, actually be careful. These have a flow direction on them. There it is. There's a little arrow on the side. Don't get caught out. Otherwise your blow tie won't work and you think this thing's broken. You'll be on the phone to the malt miller and they'll go, have you got it around the right way? So yeah, arrow going that way. So in. The other thing I have found then before is that you can take these apart and clean them if you get like an over exuberant verdant yeast or something like that and you get stuff inside it. If you take these 4 screws off, lift it off carefully, it's just a diaphragm on a spring, take it out, give it a really good clean, put it back together, invariably they will start working again. So if you ever get it that it sticks, that's exactly what's going on. And then so with here, we just get it like that and just push it into the push fit. And there you go, there's your, whoops, and there's your pressure gauge. So with your blow tie on the other side, simple as that. So you've got the pressure coming out from your fermenter, going through, you can read the pressure there, and then you can set the blow tie. So obviously you're controlling that and you're looking at this here, because obviously this is going to release at a flow. It's not the smartest pressure relief in the world, but it's pretty, these things are pretty close. So generally I find, unless you're doing something really special, it's a set and forget. Once you get it right, leave it and it'll work for you every time. The only thing I would say is this is obviously going to hang a little bit, because obviously it's going to sit on top the fermenter, so it will kind of hang a little bit. So we'll see how it performs over time. Obviously this thing doesn't get CIP'd. No. See, that's what I'm talking about. So I wonder, actually, you could probably just do that. Look, there you go. And it would just look like a slightly sad looking pressure relief, but you just need to be in Australia to read it. So it should be good. Cool, right. Let's put this hose together and then, yeah, and then let's have a final look and we should be done. So yeah, there we go. I mean, that was pretty simple, apart from me being an idiot in places, but there's nothing new there. That's it, all kind of ready to go, really. So next thing to do will be, let's give it a bit of an inaugural clean. But to do that, we need to get this this blaster thing out. So quick sip of coffee, and yeah, let's get into it. So here we are with bucket blaster. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever spotted them, but they're slightly slightly double entendre stuff that's on the outside of the old Fermzilla box. Those of you that hadn't seen it, where is it? Here we go. So just in case you hadn't seen it before, it's these ones here. 10 out of 10, dumping experience. Would dump again. I call it the Donald Dump because the SH1T just flows right out. Couldn't say it better myself. Amazing. If only my ex was this easy to dump. You know, the list goes on really. If anyone else has got any good dumping examples to add to that, then just stick it down in the comments. You never know, the best one might get a can or two in the post, you never know. Anyway, so let's just open this up. I can't find my Stanley knife, so I've had to resort to a terminal screwdriver. Hey ho. And let's open this thing up and see what we've got. Oh, t-shirt's a bit floppy. Right then. So you guys have all seen these a million times, but all comes in a bucket. I do quite like a boxer, I've got to be honest. These boxes are really good and thick. Double boxes, I do cover a good box. I might hide these somewhere. You never know when you might need them. Right, okay, here we go. So that will be that there. That's supposed to just kind of pop out. You would have thought it would designed to just kind of pop out. Cool, that is tighter than a Sharpie sharp thing. Oh, that's because actually what you need to do is that going to come all the way around the side, do we think? Feels like that needs to be got rid of. That feels like. Let's see if God, that is sharper than a sharp thing. I mean, it looks like it's been whacked in there. Let me get some gloves on and see if I can get that out any better without chopping the ends of my fingers off. Some work gloves here somewhere. There we go. PPE and all that. I can't quite tell if that, you know, like on the rim of some stuff, it has to get pulled out. You know, if you were a really clever YouTuber, you would edit all this stuff out, but I'm not, and we're doing it for fun. So let's kind of see what we get if we. Cool. I'm being beaten by a bucket. What's going on in my life? It's like it's been rammed on at an interesting angle as well. Can't quite decide if this needs to be kind of. I think it does. There you go. Let's see. That's why. It's like those things that I can't remember the name of. You know, the ones that then won't come apart till you do that. Right. So now, there we go. God, it's still ferociously tight. Said the nun to the vicar. Oh, there we go. I want to say because the bucket's such good quality, but I'm not quite convinced by that. But my God, alive, is that a seal on there? Woo! Right. Anyway, we don't need that plastic bit. It can get lost. Oh, right. So these are all the bits. And the infamous stickers that I know loads of people have struggled with. So you'll watch me struggle with those later. Right, let's unclip all this bad stuff. Let's put the bucket to one side and then we'll go from there. So, I have shut all the chillers off actually because I'm cold crashing a Saison at the moment. So I thought you guys wouldn't appreciate all the noise. I can still hear the reset pump still running. This is interesting actually. So there is, now this is really interesting if you're weird like me. Anyway, so I watched a couple of videos with some people with these, and I think these were earlier versions. And you've got this plate on the bottom that the pump, which is in here, which we'll get in a sec, sits on. I think it was on suckers, and quite a few people were complaining that the pump was like wandering off because of course it vibrates. And it wandered its way off. And I had thought, and I've actually got one here, I've got some really strong stainless steel cable ties. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to cable tie the sod to it. I'll find a way. But actually, I've just opened this up. And if you look, they've actually added 2 holes here, which looks like it's there for a cable tie to hold the thing in place. But then also, you got these little pins on it. So I'm wondering if when I get it out the box, if there's some like locating pins for it to slip into or something like that. I do love a cable tie. I wanted to kind of save and like use these, but I don't think there is a way, which is a real shame because they're really big, nice cable ties. Oh, I can be the weirdest person sometimes. No, there isn't a way. Sorry. Say goodbye to the cable ties. So yeah, so that's that. We've got these fittings. Let's have a look at this pump, shall we, and see if my suspicion is correct. Good. It comes with a UK plug top, which was the other thing I was considering. This is interesting. So the other thing I was thinking about was using this. Is of course I've got access to some quite good chemicals here for cleaning, and I was like, oh yeah, I could use it with caustic and then like caustic clean stuff. Plastic, stainless, should all be good. Then I was like, oh actually, what's in this pump? Is the pump even going to use it? So it says don't use over, do not use with water above 35 ? On the instructions, or 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's only 35 degrees C. That's actually quite cold. Which I'm quite surprised by. Dirty intake will greatly reduce performance. Well, that will apply to any human being or pump. So it looks like, yeah, look, they put these pins in, I'll show you in a sec, to stop it wandering around, so it'll sit there and then you just cable tie the sod in. Okay. Actually shows you how to strip the thing down, which is good, just in case some gunk goes inside the impeller. And it's just a standard. Gotta love this. Owner's manual, yeah? Owner's manual. I know this is back to front. Owner's Mantal. But there's no one in the UK making it for this price point, so who are we to question? I suspect we will want it to go there like that, which I'll show you. So this makes sense why they put these pins in, exactly for that reason. Let's see, so it slots in and the little sod can't go on a walkabout. And actually, I'd argue, really, you don't actually need to cable tie it down either, because it's fixed. That's your suction. Job's a good one. I don't think I'll bother cable tying it. I'll wait and see if I have to. So that should do that quite nicely. I had thought about when I'd looked at some of the other videos about whether a rotating spray ball would be better. But do you know what? On a couple of the other YouTube videos and stuff I've watched, I've not really seen anything that tells me it would make it perform any better, actually. And I'm interested to see how this performs in front of my very own eyes. The other thing I'm surprised by, actually, is I've not seen anyone have to use PTFE around any of the threads to make it seal. But then I did think about that afterwards, to myself, obviously, because I question myself a lot, was actually majority of everything submerged in the water in the bucket. So actually, if a few joints are leaking here and there, who really cares? As long as you're getting the pressure through, then its job is a good one. And actually the angle that comes off shouldn't really matter, so as long as it's good and tight, I don't care. I'm quite excited for this. It's so sad, isn't it? But the time you spend cleaning these blasted corny kegs and sterilising them, the only downside is going to be is I sterilise my corny kegs, fill one of them up to the brim with sterilant, flush it a few times with CO2, even though I've taken it right to the top. And then I'll then push that sterilant out of the keg into the next keg, and I'll do quite a few in a chain. So of course you then push it all into the next keg. That's then forced all the oxygen out of that one because it's pure sterilant. Push it to the next one, push it to the next one. Of course, in theory, you can sterilise them with this as well, with sterilant in the bucket, but you can't like flush them, can't get all the oxygen out of them. So you're still going to kind of have to do that step. I suppose the only plus side would be if you fill that bucket with the 20 litres you need, after you flush them that way, rinse them, you could, in theory, take that sterilant then and then put it into one of the kegs, and then away you go. What's that there? It's a bit of manufacturing kind of swarf, plastic swarf. Don't want that. The other great thing with this as well is you're going to save on water loads, because as with any good CIP system in a modern brewery, you have a CIP set and you reuse the CIP water. You can clean, 2-3 tanks with the same CIP water. And actually, in theory with this, yeah, I did message Kirsty about this earlier actually. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we've got 6 kegs to clean. And she's in tomorrow, so I did say, guess what, I've got something for you to do. Plus the FE will need, the old Fermentosaurus will need a clean as well. Let me get my, I need to get my pipe cutters. So here we've got, so these are the old school ones. So black is liquid on the old school and red is liquid on the new school. I'm going to forget that, by the way, I'll just say that now. So that's quite cool. That one goes on there. That goes on the gas post. Happy days. This is quite cool. I've not seen that fit in before. 3/8, so what do you reckon? 1/2 inch BSP thread. I need to look it up. It probably won't be in the instructions. What's that? 1/2 inch BSP? Male. Yeah, male to a 3/8 push fit. Obviously, if you want to know about my trials and tribulations about trying to find 3/8 and 22 mil push fits and all that sort of stuff, watch my RO system install video, and then we've got the T-piece here for linking it all round. So let me get my cutters, which probably won't be here because they never are. I think I might have mentioned this before. These things, pipe cutters, best things for 3/8 to 3/16, like beer line and stuff. Brilliant. This one I've had since I was an apprentice, so probably since I was 17. I'm 48 now. It's done me proud, this thing. It's quality. Not quite sure how I've managed to keep hold of it. But anyway, so we're going to need to come out of this thing, out into a T, and then off to our disconnects. In theory, we don't need the bit that comes out of here very long, because it's in my hand. I was looking for the T then. It's going to come here, and then off we go. So actually, I'm just going to keep that quite short. I've got a load of this 3/8 anyway, although this does feel like EVA barrier. Yeah, it feels like a slightly thicker, more robust. Oh, hello. That's gone in a long way. Again, said the vicar to the nun. Oh, look at that, look. Bloody hell. Good job I cut that so long. Wow. And then I'm just going to split this in half, because I think, this is going to sit inside the bucket, whatever it's cleaning. Who is going to care that it's a bit long? We can always make it shorter, and we've got plenty more of this stuff. So that goes all the way onto there. I think these are called the duotype fittings, aren't they? Yeah, which is slightly different to the other ones you normally get. And then go onto there, push that onto there. Just a reminder, grey is gas, black is liquid. Remember that, Hod. And yeah, there we go. So that is that. I'll just get this over so you can have a little look-see and just see what the hell it is I've been gibbering on about. So yeah, this is it. So that's a little T-piece there. I've just kept that super short, right? Because I don't really see any reason to it to be out here somewhere. No need. T coming off to go onto the disconnect. You can see how this is located really nicely with these pins. You can tell this is obviously a later generation than the first ones. This coming up straight to the jet at the top. Yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward. We'll get the bucket. we'll probably stick the marker on the bucket. To a point, I don't really know why the marker on the bucket's so important, but we'll get that on there and then sit it in there. So yeah, there she is, all done. Managed to get that on relatively stress-free, which is quite easy. Go on camera, there she is, down inside. The only other thing I will say is you need to be conscious, I think, about where that T off the main stem points or where it tightens up, because it seems to tighten up to like because this thing's offset, it seems to kind of point to the smallest or shortest area you've got. Thankfully, I did that really in a very short piece, so it doesn't really become an issue. It'd be nice if it was kind of over here somewhere, but I think you'd have to over tighten it to do that, and hey, life is too short. So the time is, I think, to get this thing to meet that thing on the brewery floor for a bit of a cleaning session. Let's go. Okie dokie, right, so I think I'll give this a go. Now what I said I think you'd be able to do is I can just lose the ring, right? But I reckon I can literally just put the post straight on this. Be able to clean this in situ. So again, those of you that are paying attention, grey was gas. In theory, that should go on there, which it does, which is nice. Black is liquid, which in theory should go on this one. Right, so then, in theory, again, there's a lot of theory going on here, is I put the dip tube and all that sort of jazz, kind of, get that inside somehow. How do I get it in there? Get it inside like that, because then it's just going to blow inside and around. And then in theory, I get this with the valve open like that, and I sit it on top like that, and would you believe it, made by the same company, and it actually all fits together. And then we give it a go. I've not put any detergent in yet, I just wanted to do this as a test. The minimum fill level on the bucket you come with it feels quite high. Feels like a lot of liquid to have in there. But we'll see. Now I've got a switch on the extension lead, I'm just going to switch it on and then we'll see what happens. Let's get you a little bit closer, because I think you're braver than me. And then we'll come around here and we'll turn it on, see what happens. Well, that's not bad. It's kind of getting around. What I don't like is that it's going all the way up into the collection bottle, and we're not getting the run down the sides that I'd like. So I'm just going to try and shut that, and then we'll see if that kind of, I would hope to think that would improve things. So if I do shut that, like that, interesting, isn't it? It's not kind of, not getting the sheeting like you would do, or you would hope to think you would get with a if you're CIPing it with a spray ball, because you know this side here isn't getting touched, whereas this side is. So it's kind of a bit like, you know, do you need to interesting. Because it's really shooting up straight from there and it's just hitting the valve, and you know, classic water kind of goes the easiest possible route. Now that's interesting. There seems to be like a, almost like a sweet spot actually. Be really interested if you could actually put a spray ball on there, even just like a fixed one or something, just to really, because it's got the, I reckon the pump's got the power. I'm going to chuck some detergent in this. Let's see what happens. So I've got some of this OxyCleanse. I can't remember where I got it from now. It's allegedly sterilant and cleaner, but we'll see. Let's see. Let's see what a bit of that does. See how that kind of mixes through. So this has kind of been cleaning away. Feels like it's had a good old rinse. With this detergent, it's kind of just nicely warming up. I have just taken the measurement of the top of this, and it's three quarters of an inch. I'm assuming it's BSP, even though it's come from China. I'm going to make an assumption it's BSP, and I'm going to order a spray ball, I think. Not even a spinning one, I think, would do. Just even a fixed one. Just something that can really, not even the slotted spinning one. I think just a straight static with holes, I think will be good. You'll get a better coverage with it. I think this might work nicely for kegs, because it'll just hit the top of the keg and then run down the walls. But I think for this, of what we're looking for, I think it's probably to do with the fact that the butterfly is so high up inside. But I've got a little test I'm going to try. Let me stop this a second, and let me introduce you to a little challenge for our new bucket blaster. Welcome to my good old trusty Fermentosaurus. This thing was still dirty and cruddy. Let me get it back a little bit further. There we go. A bit dirty and cruddy because the raspberry and peach sour that we did in it, it stayed in the fridge. It was supposed to have been cleaned when I went on holiday by the guys, and clearly they'd forgotten about it. So I thought this would be an interesting opportunity to put the two side by side. Cleaning, but then also in dimensions. The other interesting thing I said about the size of the neck. Look at the size of the size of this thing in comparison to the top of this. It's like, look at that. It's huge, so you'll be able to get your arm right inside that and clean it much better. But if we pop this off and we put it on the stand, I'll have to turn this turn the old camera around a little bit, but have a little bit of a look. See at this, look. In comparison to size, this one's a little baby. What's the volume on this then? Maybe I thought 30, but maybe I was wrong. 33 litres in the Fermentosaurus, and you can see how high we've taken it there, 26, 27, so that's based on this. 27 is right there, so we might have to be a little bit careful about the size of the batches we do, because of course I've got the ability to just rob some work out of the straight out of the kettle, the whirlpool, or the fermenter, and then just do something different with it, which is something we do, which is we're really lucky that we can be brewing a beer, pitch the yeast, 24 hours later, I can draw off as much wort as I like, stick it into one of these, and then ferment it either with that yeast or just do whatever we like with it, or even just steal the wort and then ferment it differently. Gives us lots of options to play around. You can see this poor thing's had a bit of a beating, and it's had some rather hot water put in it, so it's a little bit twisted and bent. But let's try the old cleaner on it, shall we? Let's throw the bucket blaster and see how it can get on. Right then, so I think I'm going to follow the same theory that, yeah, like I said, I should be able to connect up those disconnects onto this and then clean this one out, right? So if I drop that in there, grey's gas, so in theory, that'll go on there. Black is liquid. That'll go on there, and then in theory we can just kind of shuffle it around and get it inside the liquid. This cleaner that I've used, sorry, a bit hard for me to get to. This cleaner I've used, I've never really used it before, like anything like this. I don't really know how well it's going to perform or anything like that, but let's see, shall we? I've just topped it up with a bit more water. Let's tip the last few bits of. Was a really good sour, this one actually. Raspberry and peach is definitely one for doing later. So in theory, that should sit on there quite nicely, look. We'll leave the valve open and then we'll just give it a try and see what it does. I think that's kind of it, right? Let's go. Well, that is really interesting, isn't it? In this in this fermenter, it's definitely sheeting down the sides way better. Way better. You're actually getting it running properly like how you want it, all the way down the sides. It's not going up into the collection bowl, but you know, that's to be expected because the valve aperture is tiny. And you have to clean that by hand. But it's definitely sheeting round really well. So yeah, let's just let it run, and then let's come back in sort of, I don't know, 10 minutes and see how well it's managed to clean it. So this old boy's been running for about 25, 28 minutes. And full disclosure, and I'll be honest, this thing was filthy. I mean, there was the thickest scum mark you've ever seen. Still a little bit something there actually needs to come off. I've had to take this off and stick my hand inside and give it a bit of a wipe because there was just some stubborn yeast line around here that just was not coming off. But I will be fair to this thing. This thing was filthy. It's been in the firm fridge, cold, admittedly, unattended for probably the best part of 6 weeks, which is completely unreasonable. And that OxyClean stuff, I'm not convinced how good it is. When I actually read the packet, it said it is for light soiling, light soil clean only. So yeah, just finishing off, the other thing I realised as well is my transfer hose that I use to transfer out of this into the corny kegs. Of course, I can disconnect it and I can hook it up to this and I can run cleaner through it as well while I'm cleaning the fermenter as well, which is another great thing because that's always really difficult to do, is to clean your transfer hoses properly. So actually, I've just taken it off, hooked it up, put a snap on it and run that through there for sort of 15 minutes, and that's going to be nice and clean as well. So, do you know what? I think this is done pretty darn well. So, if I'm fair to it, I think actually it's done pretty well. I've got some, I bought some through my chemical supplier, some Enzy brew, but obviously quite a lot of it to be used in the brew house. So I'm really interested to see how that works with it. In theory, I'd expect it to be kind of designed for it because Enzy brew works quite cool. So I'll be interested to see how it goes for it. I definitely do think though that this thing achieves a better sheeting, say that quick a few times, around the edges of the fermenter better than it does with the new one. So I'm definitely going to see if I can get hold of a cheap threaded spray ball to go on that one just to see if it makes things any better. So yes, but generally a success. So there you go, that's kind of the end of the episode really. Thanks for watching, really appreciate it as always. Keep being good, be legends, like, subscribe, all that good stuff because it just helps us. Give us some comments, tell us other stuff you want to see. And yeah, that's kind of generally all worked out quite well. So thanks very much. I'll see you next time. Cheers.